It's very nice to meet you.
You too.
How does it feel to create a film about your own profession? Tell the story from the director's point of view.
It's really unusual because I wasn't really thinking in those terms when I was making the film. I was just attracted to this story and this character because, as well as being obviously Alfred Hitchcock, one of the greatest directors in the history of cinema, he was also, you know, a man who was willing to risk everything he had to make this crazy movie Psycho. I mean, even his own wife at a certain point thought he was nuts to do it. But I was just attracted to the notion of this guy who could have done anything, who chose to make a very daring, risky film with his own money at a point in time when he could have, you know, not done that. And I was interested in why you would do that. And I think he wanted to feel young and relevant and alive again. And there were all these young directors coming up from France. And so to me, it was a story about a man refusing to accept his age and refusing to accept that his career was over. And I was really attracted to that. And the story of the relationship and the collaboration with Alma Revel. You know, that was the other emotional part of it was, you know, this woman that history has sort of lost in the shadows a little bit, who was wonderfully humble.
That's right.
And wanted to sort of stay behind her husband, but who, behind closed doors, clearly played a massively important role in contributing to his genius and to his incredible sort of canon of work.
Anthony Hopkins was just perfect in the role of Alfred Hitchcock. How did you collaborate with him to capture the nuances of Hitchcock's character so well?
Well, I think Tony's brilliance as an actor is well known, and I really just, you know, in hiring a brilliant actor like that, you trust that he's the one who's going to breathe life into it. So I think that we talked a lot about him and our take on him, and we wanted to really encompass many things. We wanted the warmth of the man that hadn't been seen that much. We wanted the humor that people knew, the darkness that people knew, but we wanted to kind of put it together in a uniquely kind of entertaining package in a movie that hopefully the audience found, you know, entertaining. Because Hitchcock, remember, made films for an audience. That's who he made them for. He called them movies, you know, and he enjoyed, you know, having large groups of people get excited about the work that he did in all of the genre films he did across many different genres. So I think for us, we wanted to try and pay tribute to that spirit and show, you know, Hitchcock as a much more complicated, contradictory character rather than some of the other portrayals, you know, in biographies or over the years where he's been seen, you know, as a sort of an evil monster or, you know, a cinematic deity. And that was never really, for us, the whole story. And I think when you have Anthony Hopkins, you know, showing you more dimension and layer to someone than anyone else could, I think that we were able to sort of open the discussion about Hitchcock and say, look, he was neither good nor bad, he was both. And he was also fascinating and massively entertaining, and he loved to play jokes on people, and yes, he was cruel to his wife sometimes and actresses, but, you know, it's all one thing. And I think for us it was a real honor to pay tribute to someone so well known, but also to shine a light on his wife, who isn't. And that was really the heart and soul of the movie, was what Hitchcock and his wife must have gone through as they risked everything to make, you know, what became the very first horror film, and now to this day I believe is still the most successful independent movie of all time.
And working with them, did you direct them towards your own vision for their characters, or did you allow them liberties with their own interpretations?
Well, I think, of course, you know, you wanted the actors to embrace their own versions of people, because look, it's a movie, so it's a fantasy. So clearly you want to represent as accurately as possible the real people they're playing, but you also want to allow the actor to bring their own spirit in the same way Tony did. So I think, you know, you had just an extraordinary kind of combination of Scarlett Johansson and Janet Leigh, you know, coming together in this character that she created. Same thing with Helen. You know, her own personal experience informed the way she played Alma Revel. Also, you know, Helen in real life is the life of a director, and at one point no one knew her, and she gives a big speech in the film, and Helen was speaking from her own experience, having been at Hollywood parties as people pushed her out of the way to get to her husband, Taylor Hackford. So, and what was wonderful about Jessica's portrayal was she was really playing someone real. She spoke to Vera Miles's grandson, but she was also able to, I think, to bring her own soul and warmth to this woman who, you know, had a notoriously contentious relationship with Alfred Hitchcock. But yet, I think everyone walks out with a certain amount of dignity, and it was incredibly wonderful to watch them work. But the reason I cast them is because they're so good. I wanted them to do that. And of course we talked about it, but ultimately it's them up on screen portraying the characters in the way that they choose.
Dạ vâng, thưa quý vị, cuốn phim Hitchcock dài đến 1 tiếng 38 phút và bắt đầu trình chiếu rất là hạn chế vào ngày mai do hãng phim Fox Searchlight thực hiện. Ngoài phần xuất hiện của nữ tài tử Helen Mirren cũng như là nam tài tử lão thành Sir Anthony Hopkins, thì cũng có phần xuất hiện của nữ tài tử rất là đẹp, đó là Scarlett Johansson cùng với Jessica Biel. Thưa quý vị, đây là một cuốn phim tôi nghĩ rằng là nên đáng đi xem. Thì quý vị sẽ thấy rằng là nhà làm phim nổi tiếng Alfred Hitchcock giỏi như cỡ nào. Nhưng mà vào cái giai đoạn đó và chưa đến ngày hôm nay, thưa quý vị, thì không có ai biết rằng là đứng sau lưng ông là người vợ tài giỏi, âm thầm, trải qua biết bao nhiêu gian nan cùng với ông. Nhưng mà những cái danh vọng khi mà ông có thì chỉ người khán giả cũng như là những người ái mộ ông chỉ biết đến ông, nhưng mà không biết là người mà đã giúp ông thành công trong cái lĩnh vực làm phim là người vợ yêu dấu của ông, mà họ sống với nhau cả mấy chục năm. Thưa quý vị, cuốn phim thật là hay, thưa quý vị.